Good morning.
Good morning.
We believe in the energy of being alive. I love that. And that's why I love our way of life. Our theme for the month has been The Art of Happiness. It's a beautiful book by the Dalai Lama. And it really looks at the choices that we make. And one of the chapters is on change. So I thought, how appropriate. Embracing change. Now we know that change is the only permanent thing in life, right? Yes. And do you know what is most resisted in life? Change. It is the only permanent thing in life, and yet it is the most resisted thing on the planet. Why is that? Why is that? Yes, it is. Somebody's been reading my mail. Fear of the unknown. And there's an old saying, better the devil I know than the devil I don't know. And when we put our foot on the path, and we are absolutely knowing that we need to change. It's so fascinating. Even change for the better is resisted because it is the factor of the known. I have a friend, Nan Shelley. She said, everything I ever let go of, I left claw marks. Now, yes. Okay, yes, thank you. And we do that. It's part of the human condition that we do that. And I love what the Dalai Lama said. And he said it so beautifully. And he said that it's about having the 5 wonderful keys: learning, conviction, determination, action, and effort. And the learning is the education. That I want to grow, I want to unfold, I want to expand, I want to be all that I can be. But I don't want to change. I want my fairy godmother to come up with a magic wand and say, oh, there you go, honey. It's all yours. That's how we want it. But the truth is, to have that willingness to educate ourselves, to know that trained thought is far more powerful than untrained thought, that we are learning and unfolding every single day of our lives, and that as we begin to open ourselves up to change, it takes so many, many different forms. And the Dalai Lama talks about the sense of urgency. That the lump in the oatmeal is much different than the lump in the breast or other parts of anatomy. It gets our attention. And everyone that I know that has survived a life-threatening dis-ease with a little death sentence attached to it has absolutely made that shift in their consciousness and said, it was the greatest thing that ever happened for me. It got my attention. It got my attention like nothing else ever would or could. So what I know, Dr. Holmes, and all his wonderful, amazing knowledge and wisdom, said that it's amazing that we learn our lessons through either inspiration and inspiration. So I like, the idea of inspiration and the opportunity of intuition. Or we learn and grow through, guess what? Bitter experience. It gets our attention. And it gets our attention in such a way where the universe has that little way of tapping, to get our attention. Just kind of taps. But we're so involved in our schedules and our lives that we just, we don't have time. And that is a consciousness too. It's a not enough consciousness. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough. But when we take a stand and put our foot on the path, as we begin to acknowledge that change truly is the only permanent thing in life, and sometimes you got to just roll with it, don't you? You got to roll with it like you've never rolled with it before. It's there. It's gotten your attention. So when it gets our attention, we put certain things in place. We change maybe our lifestyle, our diet, our relationships, all kinds of change that comes up. And I have, a Facebook friends, and it was interesting. I received a note on Facebook and said, "Hi, Dr. Sharron, this is Grant. I was one of your key volunteers when you had the 2,500 people showing up every week in San Diego. I was Grant, and I was one of your key volunteers." And he said, "I want you to know that inside of me, I never felt comfortable with who I was. And so I went through a major change." And he went through this long thing about change and not being comfortable with who he was. And then he signs it, Lola Jean. Grant, my key volunteer in San Diego, went through a sex change. And he's now Lola Jean. And he said, "My friends, my family, everyone deserted me. But I am so at peace with myself, my spirituality, and with who I am, that when people left my life, the universe brought in other experiences." And I thought, this is like the most major change anyone can go through. Major change. And I wrote back to him and I said, "I acknowledge your courage, your strength, your conviction that you wanted to make this change in your life. I mean, it's a dramatic change. It's a life-changing change. I acknowledge you. Bravo, sister. Bravo." Okay? That when someone makes a change in their life, and for them it is a good change, it's for the better, we acknowledge and support the change. And that there are times that we are like in fear of our change. And there's something that I was sharing when I was the keynote speaker last week in Santa Monica for Amazing Women's Day. And it's something that's called structural tension. So you see that where thought goes, energy flows. So if our thoughts are going upward, the energy goes up, right? Where thought goes, energy flows. But when the thoughts are going downward, where thought goes, energy flows. So in this structural tension, what are we giving the most attention to? Downward thoughts on the downward spiral or the upward spiral, realizing this too shall pass. Whatever the experience is, even the good stuff that we'd love to just lean back on our laurels and think, "This is it, God. I have arrived. I'm home. We're going to slide in easy." And guess what? Things change. We make the adjustment. We unfold in miraculous ways. And with that conviction, that urgency, that learning, that education, and the effort. What is effort? We have to put the works with the faith. We got to build within ourselves a consciousness. And when we build within ourselves a consciousness, things begin to fall into place. Now, while I was gone during the week, I got a call from my beautiful, wonderful student and house sitter, Trish Wortman. And she said, "Well, you said that the freezer was kind of going off and on the fridge, but I want you to know that the whole thing, the whole enchilada has died, and I've given it last rites. The fridge is gone." So she is a realtor. And so is Dr. Arlene, our director of our Ministry of Prayer, is a realtor. Now, if you have anything go on in your house, you want a realtor to be there. I want you to know that. She got, they got their heads together, and, they looked in there. Arlene had one in storage, but suddenly, she had given it away the week before, that kind of thing. And so they called a few key people in our community and said, "How would you like to contribute?" And they asked me about this. I said, "No, don't," because they just gave me very generous Christmas gifts. They said, "Let us handle it." So they called key people in our community and said, "How would you like to contribute to a new refrigerator for Dr. Sharron?" She said everybody jumped at it. They absolutely went to Lowe's. They ordered it. Trish has something going on with the sales director. He put it down a few more percentages. And it was delivered, I got home Wednesday night, it was delivered Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, and the old one, Edison, came, picked it up, and going to pay me $50 for it. And she said, if it goes off, just slam it hard, it'll go on. So when he called to say he was on his way, I slammed it hard, but it was working beautifully, and he put his hand in, he goes, oh, very nice and cold. I said, oh, yes, it is. I said, but it's moody. It's moody. So, you know, as we go through life and we have stuff that happens, we've got to be receptive to also people jumping in and supporting us. Before they call, I will answer. That's putting the intention out there. And while they are still speaking, I will hear. And I was not, at first receptive. They said, leave it to us. Leave it to us. And went ahead. We call them the fridge brigade. It was just amazing how these things happen if we let go and let God do what God does best by means of each and every one of us. And I get letters of people that are living with HIV and cancer and the things that, that their daily life, it's very impacting. And they are going through it with courage, with strength, with knowingness that God goes before them and prepares the way. That they have absolutely ensured within them that knowingness, that they and God are the majority. And that is just the truth. That if we are created in the image and likeness of God, then God and I are the majority. And that we have to let go of all that stuff. And the ego jumps in and says, oh, you don't need that. Oh, you can do it on your own. This is just another one of those law of attraction gimmicks. Well, let me tell you, the law of attraction, the law of correspondence, and mental equivalence are running our lives. And we are either attracting what we want, beautiful people, places, and things, or we are repelling our good. So when we make that shift, we open our hearts to compassion. We acknowledge that it ain't a gimmick. It's a dynamic law of the universe. And through these dynamic laws of the universe, we get our life out of it. Our relationships are so much closer. Because guess what? I am knowing God better by means of you. And you are knowing God better by means of me. That is our ground of being. And we can play and frolic and have a great time knowing that that is our ground of being. And the recognition that God is our source. So yes, we are learning, we are unfolding, we are expanding. We are putting the works with the faith, the effort that the Dalai Lama talks about is what gets our attention in life. Do we wait for the crises? Some of us need that adrenaline rush. Oh great, it's a crisis, I can deal with that. But the everyday, oh God, another day. Until something happens and gets our attention. Well, I want you to know that I signed up to learn my lessons through intuition and inspiration. That I know what bitter experience feels like, don't we though? We've all been hurt, we've all felt pain, we've grown, we've expanded, we felt the bitterness, we felt that energy, and it doesn't feel good, does it? But sometimes when we heal it, we breathe deeply and realize that I have learned and I have grown and I unfold through these experiences, and I wouldn't have learned my lesson any other way, and I do not have to repeat them. Hallelujah. I do not have to repeat them. I can open myself up and I can say, and one of my affirmations is, I accept my good and my unexpected good. And when I got home and there was the guys from Lowe's at my door, and they were just fabulous and wonderful, I said, I'm making a call to Lowe's right now to say you're the best guys I've ever met delivering anything. I said, fab. They were just like blown away. Nobody had ever said that to them. I said, this is wonderful. The way they hooked up that ice maker, it was just wonderful. Just fabulous. And I even now have crushed ice. If I got choices. The old Whirlpool only had cubes. Now I got choices. Thank you, God. And I got myself out of the way, and when she said, leave it to me, I did. I did. Leave it to God. God always has a better idea, but we got to do our work, and we got to let go. And if we're holding on to anything that no longer serves us, we got to let that go. We got to have the conviction and the knowingness that when we start to wane and feel complacent, that's the time that we need to get it in gear. We need to read something new, take a new class, listen to a CD, open ourselves for the affirmation of life that is saying, you matter. You're no less than the sun, the trees, and the stars. You have a right to be here. Jesus, who became the Christ as his humanness gave way to the divine, said, be not conformed to the things of this world. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that every day we have an opportunity to renew our mind, to read something inspirational, to listen to the intuitive prompting of our hearts and our souls, even if it doesn't make sense to anybody else. I love those. What are you going to do? Oh my God. But it feels right to you. And you act on that prompting. It's a spiritual prompting. It's the still small voice of God. It's not necessarily logical or rational. The linear mind kind of, bumps its head off the wall thinking, what are you doing? But inside you, you know that you are doing the right thing because you are guided and directed. The same opening that we give through is the same opening that we receive through. I just absolutely love how it works. I watched Oprah the other night, and she was doing a study on the happiest town in America. You know where it is? San Luis Obispo. They interviewed everybody. They made a conscious choice to live there. And you know what they did? They took the main street. They widened the sidewalks so everybody can visit. Hello. Hi, neighbor. And people came up from LA and all over. And they named it the happiest place on the planet. And they had cities all over the world send in their videos and why they felt that their town was the happiest town in the world. They have signs that say, thank you for bicycling instead of driving. It's fabulous the way that it works. They connect with each other. They love each other. They acknowledge each other. And when they don't relate, the sidewalks are big enough that you've got your side and I've got mine. Right? Go with God, right? Go in peace. But, I've got my little space. And I absolutely loved hearing that. That the happiest place in the world is right where we are. Don't you agree? Yes. Right where we are is the happiest place on the planet. And that's what I love about living in Palm Springs, that it's my brigadoon. The minute I hit off the 111, I come in and there's an energy field. The mist unfolds me and I'm in a whole new energy field. I love how that works, and that wherever we go, we only meet God. We only meet God. So embracing change today is realizing that we are growing and unfolding, that we are allowing ourselves to grow in a way of being seasoned. And I'm always saying that, my fairy godmother and others that look at Jessie, who's going to be 96 in March, that I want to be just like them when I grow up. That there is so much for us to do, to share, and to be. I have a little brain tucked safely in my head. And another one that's in the air instead. It follows me and plays with me and talks to me in bed. The other one confuses me, the one that's in my head. That linear mind, we bless it. We connect this morning, the left and right hemispheres of our brains. And we know that God goes before us and prepares the way as we become a lamp into our own feet. God is our source. Let's say it. God is our source. Again, God is our source. One more time. God is our source. And so it is. I love you. God bless you. And we are going higher yet.